During your study or practice, are you repeatedly missing crucial arrhythmia? Are you still wondering whether this patient has got a left or a right atrial enlargement? It is the time that you understand more about the P wave of an ECG. I am Dr. Naman Agrawal. Let's get started. Now let's try to understand the P wave in the ECG. This is one component which is commonly overlooked by a lot of physicians. They focus more on the QRS complexes, on the STT segment for ischemia and other diagnosis. But the P wave, understanding the P wave is very, very important for chamber enlargements, for rhythm analysis, and for tachycardia and bradycardia analysis as well. So let's delve into the understanding of the P wave in the ECG. So the normal P wave, as you know, the SA node here is the pacemaker of the heart, and the impulses generated from the SA node travel to right atrium and the left atrium, and in the process of atrial depolarization, they travel from SA node to the AV node. So this leads to the generation of a P wave. So if you have to look at a lead which is oriented somewhat like this, for example, lead 2, which looks in this direction, the net depolarization of the atria is in this particular way, and hence you get a positive P wave in lead 2. Now, as you can notice, the direction of SA node to AV node is a particular one, and hence you get a particular morphology of a sinus P wave. Now, assume that the atrial focus for pacemaker changes. Now, this happens when there is an increased automaticity that various foci on the atrial myocardium take up the role of pacemaker. So if there is an ectopic focus of depolarization, so the direction and the duration of depolarization changes, and the rest of the atrium also gets depolarized in an aberrant way. So this leads to a change in the morphology of a P wave, which could be something like this or this or this. So if it is a normal sinus P wave, it will be a positive deflection in lead 1, 2, 3, and in AVL. And it will be a negative deflection in lead AVR, and to some extent even lead 1. Versus an ectopic P wave, which will have a changed morphology. It could be a smaller one, it could be a negative one, it could be a biphasic one, it could be a broader one. Depending on the location of the ectopic focus, the morphology will not be same as the sinus P wave. Also, if the focus is very much close to the AV node, that is the low atrial focus, the depolarization of the atrium occurs in a retrograde fashion, which leads to a negative P wave followed by a very short PR segment, and hence there is a small PR interval. So this is how you differentiate between the normal versus an ectopic P wave. This is an example of a patient who presented to the ED with chest pain. So there are other abnormalities in the QRS and STCC segment, and if you can see these abnormalities, do let me know in the comment box below. But if we have to focus on the P wave, particularly here, you can see that the P wave is positive here in lead 1, lead 2, lead 3, and is negative in AVR. Also, you can see that there is a normal PR interval, that is 120 to 200 milliseconds, which accounts to around 3 to 5 squares, small squares. Hence, this is a sinus P wave, and the patient is in normal sinus rhythm. Now, as you know, there are two atria, the right atrium and the left atrium. The SA node is located at the right atrium, so the depolarization of the right atrium precedes the depolarization of the left atrium, and the depolarizations usually are in these particular directions. Now, if you have to dissect the atrial components, the right atrial and the left atrial components, the best leads to look at these are lead V1, which directly sits on the right atrium, and lead 2, which is somewhat oriented in this direction. Now, as you know, current is a vector entity, so this will have its effect in the morphology of the P wave in lead V1 and lead 2. So in lead V1, the right atrial depolarization will be a positive one, followed by a small negative deflection of which is due to left atrium, as the left atrial depolarization is predominantly away from lead V1. In lead 2, both these components are actually in the direction of the lead. So you'll have a positive reflection for right atrial depolarization, followed by a positive reflection on because of the left atrial depolarization. So we have to summarize our learnings so far. A normal sinus P wave will look somewhat notched in lead 2, will be biphasic in lead V1, will be positive in lead 1, 2, and 3, and will be negative in lead AVR. And it is usually followed by a normal PR interval. So if you're talking about chamber enlargements, if there is a right atrial enlargement, the initial component of lead 2 P wave, that is the normal, appears something like this. This is the right atrial component, which becomes really prominent, and the height increases to more than 2.5 small squares. Similarly, the proximal part of the P wave in lead 1 becomes prominent in the form of an increased duration of the positive component. Hence, the P wave will appear positive on lead V1, usually, which may not appear so much positive, becomes prominently positive in lead V1 as well. In the case of left atrial enlargement, the width of the P wave increases to more than 3 small squares in lead 2, and the separation between the two peaks becomes more than 1 small square. So if you see this kind of a morphology, this is suggestive of a left atrial enlargement. In lead V1, the negative component becomes more prominent in the form of increased width of more than 1 small square. So if you see these findings, it is suggestive of a left atrial enlargement. Now, this was an ECG which was obtained on a patient who had presented to us with syncope. Now you can see there are other rhythm abnormalities in this particular ECG, and if you can recognize what is the rhythm abnormality, I'll be very happy to know in the comment sections below. But if we focus only on the P waves, the best leads to look at the P waves again is lead 2 and lead V1. So if we blow up the leads here, you can see that the two components of the P wave are very clearly seen, and the difference between these two is more than 1 small square. Also, in lead V1, the negative component of the P wave is very much prominent, and it is more than 1 small square. So this is suggestive of a left atrial enlargement. Now, left atrial enlargement can happen in many pathologies, in mitral stenosis, for example, in mitral regurgitation, also in conditions where the pressure overload on the left atrium is significant because of left ventricular hypertrophy. The common examples being systemic hypertension, aortic stenosis, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, etc. So these are the conditions in which you will find an enlarged left atrium. Now, this was a ECG which was obtained on a patient with a history of COPD for many years, and now who presented to the emergency with worsening symptoms and worsening body swelling. In this, you can see that the P wave in lead 2 appears very much prominent, so much so that the height of the P wave is almost equal to the height of the QRS complexes. Now, if we blow this up, you can see that the height of the P wave is more than 2.5 millimeters, and this is suggestive of a right atrial enlargement, which is typically seen in the pulmonary system pressure overload or volume overload conditions like cor pulmonale, consequence of COPD, or in the patients because of back pressure changes, which eventually happen in patients with mitral stenosis. So left atrium enlarges, the pulmonary venous pressure increases, has its effect on the right side of the heart, and eventually leads to right atrial enlargement. Now, this is a very interesting ECG which we obtained on a patient who actually did not have any cardiac complaints, and he had presented with some vague abdominal complaints. And as we can see in lead 2 here, it's a tall P wave here, so which is suggestive of a right atrial enlargement. And we have got a wide and negative P wave in V1, which is suggestive of a left atrial enlargement. So what does this patient have? Does this patient have both right atrial as well as left atrial enlargement? But in that case, there should be manifestations of both these chamber enlargements in both the leads. So what is the mystery here? Answer lies in the basic interpretation of the ECG. If we go in a stepwise fashion, you should always look at the calibration before interpreting the complexes. Now, the normal calibration on the y-axis is per millivolt. In this particular ECG, the calibration is 40 millimeters per millivolt. So this is the calibration bar, which is so huge. Normally, it should cover only 2 large squares. In this, you can see it is covering almost 8 squares. And hence, the sensitivity of the ECG has become 4 times. So whatever is the electrical activity normally present in the heart, this ECG trace will magnify it 4 times. And hence you see very tall P waves everywhere, and hence the QRS complexes are also looking very gigantic. So as a learning point, always check for the calibration before going into the dimensions of P wave or QRS complexes for that matter. Now, this was again an interesting ECG, which was discussed with the residents and the interns. Machine was reading it as a normal sinus rhythm. But you can see now that the P wave axis is somewhat different here. You can see that the P wave is almost flat in lead 1. It is negative in lead 2, negative in lead 3, and it is positive in lead AVR. So it's just the other way around. If the normal P wave depolarization is somewhat like this seems like having an axis in the opposite direction, and hence this is an ectopic P wave. So this is not a normal sinus rhythm, it's an ectopic atrial rhythm. Now this was another interesting ECG in which you can see in lead 2 down here that the first P wave has got a certain morphology. The second P wave looks slightly different. The third one again looks different from the first two. The fourth one is more flat. The fifth one is more wide. So there are many morphologies of P waves here. So there are more than 3 P wave morphologies. This can happen when there are multiple different active foci on the atrium and the depolarization occurs from one of the focus at a particular time and the focus keeps on changing. So this basically is called a wandering atrial pacemaker. If such a patient goes into tachycardia, in which the heart rate becomes more than 100 per minute, this condition is more commonly known as multifocal atrial tachycardia, in which you see different morphologies of the P wave and different PR intervals, along with an irregularly irregular rhythm. So the take-home points is that the P wave analysis is very much crucial for arrhythmia detection and for many other emergencies. Looking at the P wave morphology and the axis are very important. You have to determine whether the origin of the P wave is sinus or a non-sinus one. So the P wave is best seen in lead V1 and lead 2, but you should look out at all the 12 leads if you are not satisfied with the interpretation at these particular leads. The chamber enlargements can very well be picked up by closely observing the P wave. The initial component of the right atrial and the later component of left atrial depolarization can be picked up in different leads and can help us in diagnosis of chamber enlargements. But before you do any calculations regarding chamber enlargements, you should carefully look at the ECG calibration, both the y-axis calibration and the x-axis calibration, so that you do not misdiagnose the chamber enlargements.
Thank you for watching this video. Do like and share this video with your friends. Are you aware of a specific lead arrangement which best tells you about the atrial activity? Do let me know in the comment box below. Subscribe to ECG Sadhana and follow us on the Facebook for more exciting content related to emergency ECGs. Until then, stay healthy and keep saving lives.